is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GBNews in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
It's Saturday night and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night telly show. I'm Darren Grimes along with Lisa McKenzie, Dr Renee, Trey Lowe and Stuart Fawcett. Tonight on the show...
Oh, sorry, is that me?
We don't pay them enough, honestly.
Oh,
That's it.
sorry.
That's it.
What's on tonight? Andy Burnham, our Prime Minister, is sharing out the asylum seekers like sweeties.
Taxpayer-funded brothels coming to a village near you.
There was a joke in Clacton, but it wasn't the bin.
And Trump's foreign policy has become a circus.
Bookstore in London shocks shoppers with Mein Kampf in Averick.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. My friends, a very good evening. I was just complimenting Lisa on her tan, actually, and it looks like she's got heat stroke, doesn't it, after that intro? Now, my friends, what a week it's been, a corker. Have you felt the atmosphere change since Andy Burnham announced that illegal migrants should be spread all across parts of the country? I heard the collective smash of Provence rosé glasses from Labour, Lib Dem and Green voting postcodes all the way up in my part of County Durham. And suddenly, the Refugees Welcome Choir has acquired a tiny little asterisk underneath it. You've got to zoom right in. It says terms and conditions apply, not within 500 yards of my Waitrose. The Burnham bounce lasted about 5 minutes. He started the week as Tigger and he ended it as Trigger from Only Fools and Horses. And then came the government emergency alert. Did you get it? That bloody noise blasting out of my phone. Never mind the Burnham bounce, there was suddenly the Grimes bounce. I nearly went through the ceiling. Apparently the government urgently needed to remind us all during the 5th heat wave of the year that we probably shouldn't wander outside and start fires. Well, cheers, lads. Just in time. There I was, halfway out the door with a swan vesta and a can of petrol, thinking, lovely evening for it. Thank God Whitehall intervened. Angela Rayner was doing the media rounds this week. They let her out, making the case that Labour is delivering results on borderless Britain. And apparently the boat crossings are down. Well, it's technically true. They just forgot to mention that the boats are getting bigger. At this rate, my friends, we're going to have a P&O cruise pulling into Dover saying, welcome aboard HMS Asylum. Breakfast buffet on deck 7, border force escort included. Anyway, joining me tonight, my friends, my old faithful Dr. Renee, hotter than a disposable barbecue, and here once again to dispense some very rough medicine to our increasingly sick British patient. Trey Lowe is here as well, representing that radical political philosophy of, well, I can see it from both sides. He doesn't just sit on the fence, he's had it upholstered and waxed. And returning tonight is Lisa Mackenzie, the common sense academic who understands something Westminster has spent 30 years forgetting, that working class people are supposed to be listened to, not studied like an endangered species from someone in Islington with a degree in some form of international law. And replacing Kai Wilshaw tonight, well, Stuart Fawcett, former Labour Party worker and now the owner of an artificial intelligence company. Apparently, my friends, after all the years he's spent around the Labour Party, he's become fascinated by the possibility of actual intelligence. So I'm delighted that a former Navy officer joins us now, and it is somewhat ironic that we've replaced Kai with a seaman. In order to have the lot of us over the side by past, I'm sure, oh ship shape, only time will tell, my friends. Now, Kai, he's less bothered by the prospect, it has to be said, of a super dinghy stuffed to the gunwales with single young men flocking to our beaches. So we'll see what Stuart's got to say about all of that. And of course, we want your views as well, my friends. Please do send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/your say. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. No topics are off limits, but before, my friends, we start tearing each other apart, it is Saturday Night News with a much more sensible Katie Bowen.
Darren, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 6:04. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain. That's as he's announced fresh measures to support farmers, whom he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. His warning comes after millions received a government-issued emergency alert across England and Wales last night, warning the public against lighting anything that could spark a wildfire, including barbecues, campfires and fireworks. Firefighters are continuing to tackle blazes in the West Midlands. 19 homes have been destroyed and 18 others damaged in Stourbridge. Elsewhere, military and fire services from across England have been called to help in South Wales to support the response there. This morning, the Prince of Wales paid tribute to the firefighters, emergency responders and volunteers battling wildfires across the country. Prince William said, "Our thoughts are with everyone affected, particularly those who have lost their homes and with those working tirelessly to protect communities, homes and the countryside." Well, Britain's farmers are getting a £65 million lifeline as drought and extreme heat take their toll on crops and livestock. The Prime Minister spoke about the support package on a visit to a farm in Cornwall.
More flexibility for farmers to graze livestock on land that is being put under environmental measures, more money to build reservoirs on farms going forward to deal with these water shortage issues. So a sign that we understand how difficult times are, that we want to build back that trust with the farming community, but more to come.
Elsewhere today, Andy Burnham has said that the death of former Cambridge professor Jason Arday was a tragedy. Professor Arday, who resigned from the university following allegations of plagiarism, was pronounced dead after emergency services were called to an address in Battersea in South London yesterday afternoon. Police say the 41-year-old's death is being treated as unexpected but is not believed to be suspicious. In a statement issued through his publisher, Mr Arday's family said that they were in shock to have lost an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice said that she was desperately saddened, adding that the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Mr Arday's family at this incredibly difficult time. Moroccan police have blocked a second attempt by migrants to cross the border into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Riot police were deployed at the border today as hundreds prepared to storm the territory, 2 weeks after tens of thousands made the crossing. Migrants gathered in the border town of Castellos after calls were made on social media encouraging a second attempt. Second earthquake has struck Indonesia today as authorities report a 6.9 magnitude quake hitting the island of Sumatra. Earlier, at least 47 people were killed following a 7.7 magnitude quake and dozens of aftershocks off the eastern coast. Rescuers around the port town of Mormir found 20 dead, 6 injured and 2 trapped under the rubble. And hundreds of Bonnie Tyler fans have gathered to pay their respects to the late singer as her coffin was brought home. The total eclipse of the heart singer, whose real name was Gaynor Hopkins, died in July, aged 75. Fans lined Newton Road in the Mumbles in Swansea to watch the procession. A celebration of her life for family and friends will take place at Swansea Minster on Monday. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5 over the next 3 hours. The biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. Trey has just turned to me and said, I don't know how you get away with that.
I don't know. No, but that's because Trey's so busy sitting on the fence that he can't be witty in between.
Yes, that's
No,
true.
you're a bit of a comic genius, I have to admit. You're good.
Well, my P45 is pending. Right, we're going to crack on with our first topic tonight and I'm going to abuse the position of the middle seat and kick us off. My friends, there was a joke in Clacton this week, but it wasn't the fella dressed as a wheelie bin. The joke, apparently, was Clacton itself. Because Westminster has a very peculiar idea of democracy. You see, you ignore people for years, you tell them that their borders don't matter, their bills don't matter, their high street doesn't matter, their vote in 2016 for that B-word thing didn't really mean what they thought it meant, but the second they vote for Nigel Farage, well, suddenly everybody becomes terribly interested in what's best for them. Kemi Badenoch said that the people of Clacton deserved better than Farage. Fine, Pet, give them somebody to vote for. She didn't. Labour didn't. The Lib Dems didn't. Even Plonker Polanski didn't. The great defenders of democracy from the throes of Farage looked at Clacton and decided that democracy could have the summer off. Instead, Westminster enjoyed a wild love affair with a man in a bin. And wasn't it hilarious? Ha ha ha, they laughed. An Oxford graduate, a comedy writer, a Brexit opponent sent into one of the most pro-Brexit parts of Britain to make the people who live there the punchline. That bothered me. Not the costume, not the sneer. The fact that they laughed at the people of Clacton. Andy Burnham says that Clacton and the country need the biggest rebalancing of power this country has ever seen. A rebalancing sounds like something printed on the side of one of those probiotic yogurts. People wanted the old things to start working again. They want a border that means a border. A GP appointment sometime before, preferably, the next general election. A hospital bed instead of a trolley. A high street with shops on it, not just vapes. A criminal put in prison and kept there. And if he's foreign, on a plane. That's not revolution. That's repair. And that's why Farage drives Westminster absolutely nutty. Because for all of the lectures, the investigations, the denunciations, the pearl clutching, voters keep doing the one thing they're apparently not supposed to. They keep backing him. That's why the lawfare happens, and I know it well. I was fined £20,000 and referred to the Metropolitan Police and accused of criminal conduct for campaigning for Brexit. I fought it and I won. Years later, the Electoral Commission's own chairman said what happened to me should never have happened. So when an establishment decides that ordinary voters got it wrong, I know what it smells like. Believe me, I can smell it right now. If they can't reverse your decision, they ridicule it. And if they can't beat your candidate, out come the committees and the two parties that spend all year pretending to despise each other across the dispatch box, suddenly turning out to be very good at sharing a taxi when Reform UK turns up. That's the uni party for you. They're even saying they're going to stand aside for each other. And Clacton has just given it a rather appropriate instruction. They've said, to the political class. Send your commentators, send your committees, but forget not the voters. And that's what the message from Clacton is. The Uni Party is destined for the electoral sin bin. Not a moment too soon. I mean, Renee, were you excited, galvanised by the fact that actually, you know, the likes of Kemi Badenoch came out and said, we need something other than Farage, they deserve better, and then not bother?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've hit the nail on the head, really, that what they're really worried about is just losing their uni party. Yeah. That's why they are so exercised by Farage, and they can't understand why they can't squash him. And they're going to try. They've tried already, and they're going to try even more. That's the problem. And it infuriates them that he still keeps this base of people. And I admit that some of it has waned away a little bit of late, but they're still terrified of him. If they weren't terrified, they wouldn't even give him a soundbite anywhere. Look at the Labour Party conference last year, where every single speaker got up and spoke about Farage. You know, he's in their heads, he's in their minds, because he's breaking the system. And people that actually care about this country want the system to be broken.
Yeah. Lisa, I don't want the system to be broken. Lisa does.
Yes, I do want the system to be broken. Yeah, the system's not working. It's definitely not working for the people of Clacton, is it? You know, they've come out, they've voted for reform, and for their choice, they're being sneered at yet again. Yeah. They're being looked down on yet again. And I tell you what will happen is next time they'll vote again, and they'll perhaps vote in even more numbers. I live in the Red Wall up in the north, like you, Darren, and I know every time Westminster tells those people not to do something and they're wrong, guess what? They're doing it even better. Yeah. Or as we say, with bells on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and then some. Stuart, you're a man of the political left. You've been around the Labour Party a wee while. What did they see as far as Clacton's concerned and decide it wasn't for them?
I mean, I look at this situation now that's unfolding and I kind of think, where's it got everybody? Because what has changed for the country's fortunes by Nigel Farage having called this by-election? What's realistically changed for the people of Clacton? And what's it changed for the situation in the first place that he resigned for, which was the Commissioner's investigation, which is now resumed? So just kind of think, for the purpose of politics, which is to improve people's lives in Britain and Britain's standing in the world, what has that achieved? And I can't see as if it achieved anything. But you talk about the system, and you talked about things earlier about people wanting to have a border, a hospital bed, not be on a trolley in a corridor. I want all of those things. But where I'm in a different place on this is I don't want to break institutions in our country in order to achieve that. I want to find ways of making them better. And at the moment, all I see is this desire for disruption and to come in and break things, not necessarily the desire to come in and actually have...
Don't you think they're already broken?
But you've just said we want to... Well, but
they're already broken.
But breaking them more isn't, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. Breaking them more isn't going to have better outcomes for people who rely upon them.
I'm not sure you can break them.
I don't think reform does want to break the system.
You talk about
I'm saying what you just said there. Sure. Sorry, Renee. You just said, I want to break the system several times, and that's what I'm referring to.
You talk about what has he just done for Clacton. What has the Uni Party over the last 3 decades done for Clacton? I'll tell you what they've done. They've forgotten about them because they're white working class people living on the coast, and coastal towns and cities are the worst affected in this dire situation we have. So the Uni Party hasn't done anything for them. Why are they suddenly going to wake up tomorrow and do something for them? And actually, Pat Riot on Your Say has just said Farage should give the inquiry committee a month to conclude or resign again and have another by-election. And trust me, Clacton will handle it.
But we might be having another by-election. That was the whole thing around this, was we needed to wait for the Commissioner's report to come back. And there was no guarantee that was ever going to happen because there's a threshold that needs to be met. And nobody knew if that was going to be met or voted on. We didn't know that. And then the people of Clacton could have had that say, rightfully so, and taken their judgment and said, our opinion is beyond any commissioner or standards committee, we have the say. And that's totally right. But what's happened here is this whole process has gone on, and I don't see who has benefited from it, including Nigel Farage, by the way.
Well, I think he has benefited from the fact that he's actually reminded Parliament, this Parliament of pygmies, that actually the people of Clacton and elsewhere do still back reform. There is this narrative that Burnham's come, the king of the north.
He could have done that. He didn't need to have this by-election to achieve that.
Yeah, I think that's what I see.
In order to remind Parliament that actually there is a mandate there, and that trying to make him the bogeyman of the House of Commons, it ain't working.
I think what I saw was a unnecessary election, man versus bin, that cost the electorate £250,000, which for someone like Nigel Farage is not a lot of money, but for your average constituent in Clacton was a decent amount of money. And I just don't see the point of it, because if he's found in contempt or broke the rules or whatever it is, we're going to be back there again. I mean, there's no denying that obviously his base in Clacton is going to support it.
Were you okay?
But what did it really achieve?
Were you okay with the £4.5 million that has been costed up in the north to hold the Makerfield by-election and now the mayoral election?
I think there's so much wasted. I'm not going to defend it.
Is that okay? That
probably not necessarily, but in this case, it was just okay. I'm just going to do it to prove a point, and I completely understand why the other parties, because they thought we're not going to take part in this circus. That's what it looked like to them.
Do you know what?
That is not why they did not run.
What I'm worried about here is, in the country at the moment, people don't believe in democracy anymore. They're saying, listen, we vote for this thing, and it never happens. They're all as bad as each other. So, for me, getting people engaged in politics to the point where they want to see something done and they're now saying, you better do it this time, I think that's good for the country, actually. And, you know, it's not really for us to be telling people that they're voting the wrong way or they're wrong. You know, they are voting on their experience. That's what I find with particularly working class people. They vote on their experience. How is their lives today? And actually engaging in that political argument is good for all of us.
But I think in this case, wasn't the voter turnout down? I think the average voter turnout in the UK was 55% at the general election. Was it 45% in this one?
Yeah,
of course, they're generally lower. But what my point is, I don't see anything where more people have turned out to be engaged in this by-election.
He got 1,000 more votes than he did in the general election, where the turnout
Sure, I'm saying, but the turnout is generally lower. So the point, I agree, I think we should encourage more people to try and vote, have their say. But that hasn't necessarily happened in this case. Don't you think that the way that the other parties behaved, where they went, you're right, we're not going to stand, then that's not going to, you know, why would their supporters come out and vote? And I think, again, you know, that's not good for democracy. It's not good for the country when, you know, certain political groups say, we're not playing now, we're not playing ball because...
Well, on that note, Worried Retiree says, what has Clacton achieved? It has uncovered for the whole country to see the depths to which the uni party will sink.
Well, I agree with that. And do you know what? The fact of the matter is, with this money, right, I'm not privy to any comings and goings like that. But what I will say is that even if, you know, Len McCluskey, when he was head of Unite, if Len McCluskey had come across to Nigel Farage and said, Nigel, I like the cut of your jib, I'm going to give you £5 million for your security. And Nigel says, OK, Len, thank you very much. The notion is that all of a sudden, Nigel would be walking around reciting Marx and saying that he's a total trot. Right? That he all of a sudden would be opposed to all of the things that he's believed for the last 30 years. I just find it such a puerile and quite patronising argument.
I don't think the issue is that. I think the issue was he just didn't declare the money in terms of how it's
before he was in office.
Yeah, but the rules are that MPs upon election should declare anything that's been contributed 12 months prior. Now, if he'd have just done this, if this had just happened, this issue would never have come along. And obviously, he's taken umbrage with this.
Yeah, but he says, yeah, big deal, it's a piece of paper, and I didn't take it.
You know, outside Westminster, where working class people live, they actually don't care about this.
No, I know. Clearly, the people of Clacton don't care.
They don't actually care about it.
I saw a lot of interviews around Clacton, Jerry people saying that, but I think the issue was, if he just declared it, people probably, this would never have been an issue.
OK, but he didn't, so we are where we are.
We are where we are. Right, time now for the Great British Giveaway. You've only got until next Friday to grab your chance to win £60,000 cash and a gold bar in our Golden Summer celebration. Here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
Welcome to Orlisanti by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck. Right, Lisa, what have you got coming up for us?
Well, I'm really interested in Andy Burnham's sort of speech this week where he said middle-class Britons have got to take more of the burden. And I think that's a really interesting... It's interesting the way that he's used language. He's talking about the middle class. He's talking about burden.
Yeah, well, we can't wait for that one. You're with the Saturday 5, my friends. We're live on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. You've all been writing in thick and fast, and John says Labour held an election to get their man in place. Reform also needed a vote to keep their man in position. Grumpy Grandad said Nigel is in serious danger. He is taking on the establishment. He needs all the security he can get, and that doesn't come cheap. And Patricia is very irate. She says Binface was getting votes for Labour and the Conservatives. That's why he got almost 9,000 votes, or did get 9,000 votes. Please tell that Labour guy that I cannot, well, I won't repeat that actually. I love my country and this lot are wrecking it, Patricia concludes. So yes, there are views there. James concludes, the system is broken and we want it fixed. I agree. And the system did used to work, so let's just get back to that. Thank you so much for your messages so far. Please do keep them coming in thick and fast. Now though, it's time for our next debate, and Lisa is going to take it away.
Yeah, so this sort of speech that Burnham gave, that our great Prime Minister, I need to stop calling him Burnham now, I need to have a bit of respect actually for him. But I really thought it was an important moment. Number one, he gave that interview to GBNews as well. And what he said is that the middle class need to start to take their share of the burden. And I think that word is very interesting as well. That the burden of asylum seekers, what he's saying is that perhaps over the last 10 to 15 years, and I would agree with that as an academic, I've done research about this 10 years ago actually, that the poorest parts of the country get over-representation of the dispersal of asylum seekers. The North East in particular has had more than their fair share, so as the Midlands, the East Midlands where I live. Nottingham has a very high number of asylum seekers dispersed there. And there are places in the country, the Cotswolds, for example, has not had any. So for me, I think this is a really important movement actually with Andy Burnham, because what he's doing is giving a nod to his voter base, which is Makerfield, and Makerfield is 97.5% white. Most of those will be working class. There are places like that all over the country. So what he's doing is he's nodding to his voter base, and he's got to, really, because when he came into power, he said he's going to do the Makerfield test. So he's going to think about policy and how people of Makerfield will understand that. The other thing that I think was important about this was the terminology of burden. Now, I think that's a new terminology. I also think the way that he sort of gets uncomfortable when he's talking about asylum and migration as well. And again, I think that is because he knows what the British public thinks about this. And I think he knows when he's saying the asylum system needs to be dispersed to middle-class areas, he knows that actually nobody wants asylum seekers living next door to them. So for me, I think that's it's an interesting story that I think should be unpacked.
You know where I'm at on this? So I totally, there is part of me, right, I'm split. I'm split on this, torn. Part of me, you remember that Kay Burley tweet from this week where she said, for those that didn't see it, she said that the the migrants on the super dinghy, 230 of them, was tantamount, reminded her of a queue for a cash and carry, to which I said there must have been one hell of a sale on. But ultimately, I would love nothing more than for the likes of the Burleys of the world who think that actually people are complaining for the sake of it, and that it's not really that bad to have 6 men moved into a HMO next door to you, decreasing the value of your property, making you feel less safe, worried about your children, all the rest of it. There is part of me that feels very happy about the prospect of people being woken up to what the rest of us are having to endure. But I think it's fundamentally a mistake to say that that's what he took away from the people of Makerfield.
Absolutely.
And to say that actually in his speech when he became Prime Minister or leader of the Labour Party that he wanted to end HMO Britain. Well, you're not ending it, you're just spreading it like manure on a farm.
Yeah. And the other, you're absolutely right. So there are two things here. Firstly, when you see that super dinghy with every one of those people in it, who will cost the average taxpayer £106,000 across their lifetime. That's a £25 million cost to the taxpayer arriving on our shores, and they're probably going to come every single day now while this heat continues and the wind has dropped. He has not listened to the people.
No.
The people don't want them spread around. They don't want them here.
No.
We have to stop these people coming. It's not about slowing it down. It's not about spreading them out. It's not about sharing the pain. Yes, share the pain. We don't want them here. End.
I think it's important to note something here as well, that we've gone through a real change in the way this system is being managed in a very short period of time. The change has happened a lot quicker than the problem had to essentially become to the point where it is now with the numbers that we're seeing. So the first thing is that I think this week 13 asylum seeker hotels were shut down. That's where they were essentially being put in the heart of communities. I mean, I once went up to Mansfield and stayed in a well-known budget hotel, and I was the only non-migrant guest at that one, right?
We call them residents.
Yeah, residents, and that was worried. And I spoke to the lady on the desk, and she was terrified, okay? So that's now being changed. They're now going into self-contained, it's ex-MOD accommodation that's self-contained, and the purpose there is to process their...
Yeah,
hold on, let me just finish what I'm saying. So it's there to process their applications and start those methods of removal. So that is now changing. But I think it's unfair to say...
They're being moved into places like my part of the world. They're being moved into places like Stanley in County Durham. They're being moved in to Lisa's part of the world.
People don't want the hotels.
It's important to know with HMOs, but it's important to know with HMOs that HMOs are certainly a problem, but they're not just a problem because of the processing of illegal immigrants. They're a problem because we don't have enough housing. Full stop. We simply don't have enough housing.
We don't have enough housing.
So we don't need
So then don't put illegal migrants.
Of course, and that's why. Well, that's why they're being returned with this new system. The returns procedure is being sped up because
they're not being returned. In fact, the Home Office turned around to Durham and said we need 100 to 150 further bed spaces within those HMOs. The only change that's happening, people need to wake up on your side of the political fence to what this government is actually doing to us, because you're saying one thing there right now, and in reality, something totally different is happening. I genuinely don't know what planet you're living on right now.
I think we need to note here that legislation and changes in public policy take time to take impact. It's not an emergency service.
They're not changing it. As Renee's just said, he's just literally said that he wants more HMOs in more parts of the country.
No, what he's saying is there should be more, that quota needs to be equally spread around different areas of the UK, not just in pockets where it has been and where places have been overwhelmed disproportionately.
Into lovely little villages like Piddington.
Yeah. But Piddington isn't necessarily just HMOs, that's a site which is self-contained.
So what do you feel about that word burden?
Yeah, hang on. We'll come back to this because we are going live in Piddington later on in the show, so there'll be plenty of opportunities to discuss this more. Next, though, we're going to be looking at some of this week's triggered tantrums, including the man who kicked off on a plane and a disappointing solar eclipse. This is the Saturday 5, only on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's not just the UK where the heatwave comes to an end this weekend. Sunday's going to be much cooler across a large swathe of Europe compared with the week that has just been. And I'm talking about much of France, into Germany, Italy as well. It's been so hot recently. Cooler air will be welcome news for many. There'll be thunderstorms, very lively thunderstorms through Central Europe, especially the Alps. They'll then move into Croatia and Greece throughout much of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to our GB News weather update from the Met Office.
We can expect a cooler night tonight, particularly if you compare it to the warm nights we've had over the last few days. It is set to be a bit cloudier tomorrow with some rain and drizzle, all thanks to this weather system slowly approaching towards the northwest. But many areas will stay dry for a time, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure. Plenty of clear skies, in fact, across England and Wales to finish off the day, but perhaps the odd sharp shower to finish off the day across parts of the southeast. These should clear fairly quickly, but then plenty of cloud moving through during the early hours of the morning. Some rain and drizzle towards the northwest and the far north of Scotland. But for all, it should be a cooler night. Still fairly warm across the very far south of England, however. So to start the day on Sunday, lots of cloud around in Scotland, some spells of rain, drizzle, mostly across the far north and the far west. And it's going to be quite a grey start for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, plenty of cloud around, some of this cloud quite low. And it's a fairly similar picture elsewhere across England and Wales. Many areas are likely to be dry, but this cloud will be quite thick at times and enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle. But where we'll see the most of the rain will be across Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, where it'll be quite patchy in nature, perhaps a little bit heavy over the hills. For many areas, particularly central and southern England and Wales, it'll start to brighten up into the afternoon, perhaps some sunny spells, but for all it is set to be a cloudier picture. And temperatures will come down more towards average for many areas, but still fairly warm across parts of the south. Now heading into Monday, it's going to be another cloudy start. There will be some spells of rain and drizzle, but once again, most of the rain will be towards the northwest, where it could turn quite heavy, especially later into the afternoon. Still fairly warm in the south and any sunshine, but temperatures will gradually start to come down through the course of the week, with some spells of rain in places.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Thank you so much for getting in touch on gbnews.com/yoursay. I'll get to some of those in a moment. It's time, though, now for our triggered tantrums, when we look at some of the weird and wacky videos from social media over the last 7 days. We're going to start with this week with Renee, not a video of Renee, to be clear.
So I want to say that Colin, Alice and I had a brilliant eclipse experience up in North London. Alice built her little box, or rather Daddy did, and it was good. But this man in Ireland didn't find it so good.
OK, so I think it's in there somewhere. So they said the west of Ireland was one of the best places in the world to see it, 95% sun coverage, but I am having trouble locating the sun at all. So I'll stick around for another few minutes and see what we can do. So yeah, still absolutely no sign.
Well.
Oh, if you can see the whole clip, it's absolutely brilliant. He's really funny.
Is he really quite disappointed?
Very disappointed. He said that is the eclipse in Ireland every day.
I was quite disappointed because it was very cloudy in the northeast, right? So I was sat in a beer garden thinking, oh, I'm going to get to see something really fantastic. And all I thought was, oh, it's just a bit dark.
No, it was good. North London was good.
It was good. Do you know, I made the stupid mistake of actually looking at the sun, trying like with sunglasses on, peering through my eyelashes to actually have a look at it. I was about blinded for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Do not do that at home.
Trey, what you needed was an alert on your phone to tell you not to look at the sun.
I think I did.
That's what we need these days, isn't it? Alerts. Right, and Stuart, what have you got?
Well, I've found a super temper tantrum on a plane. I'm sure we've all had it. Getting on a plane, we're feeling stressed. Well, this passenger in America, he took it to another level. And he ended up getting so annoyed on this plane, they took him off, and as he did it, he was that angry, he threw his pizza at somebody. You know, and it sort of reminds me how I felt but didn't act yesterday night trying to get home for the Late Show when I couldn't get on a plane. I had a boarding pass for, and they just wouldn't let me on. But this guy, he really did snap.
Let me throw my food at you, just make one. You guys, calm down.
Wow, dear.
I mean, if you're being taken off a plane, you've misbehaved, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think from what I heard, someone had been talking to his girlfriend. So he's obviously a bit fragile.
Wow. Insecure, man.
Yeah, a bit fragile. But to then throw your pizza, I mean, I think that's just a sin in itself.
It's a waste of perfectly good pizza.
But yeah, I've had a difficult few hours flying. It took me 18 hours to do a 5-hour journey.
Wow.
But yeah, literally got to a gate with a boarding pass. Can I come on? No, you're not on this flight. We've changed you in midair. But the gate's open. I want to come in. No. There you go. AirH Britain.
See, the airline knew that you're a lefty. That's why. That's why. To be honest with you, I've never lost my rag like that on a plane, but I have been...
You are a diva.
Well, I have been delayed, be that as it may. I have been delayed once or twice, and I must say, there's no worse when you just want to get home.
So my little 4-day trip to Spain with the family, we were delayed by 6 hours going out and arrived at our place at 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then coming home on the morning, got a nice little text from BA saying, oh, we've cancelled your flight. But don't worry, we've put you on that gets back at midnight.
But you're expected to behave, aren't you? So you're expected to have absolutely no emotion whatsoever and accept it, and there's nothing more annoying. So even if you are being really polite...
though, aren't they?
Yeah, you can't kick off on a plane. You can't.
No, not at all.
You're going to
take it.
It's just no choice.
No, okay.
Yeah, you can't do it.
All right, we're going to get low in a second. Trey, what have you got coming up?
So I'm going to be talking about Donald Trump wanting to annex these Straits of Hormuz. That's going to be coming up after the break.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
4 heat waves, weeks without meaningful rain. As the UK heads towards one of its hottest summers on record, the pressure is showing here in Sussex, in the fruit growing across these fields.
Well, the impact of the heat is already visible here. This local grower says that if these extreme temperatures continue, this year's harvest may well be smaller in size.
I don't think there's been another period like this in the history. 3 years ago, we had a tremendous heat wave in the middle of harvest. We were unable to get the fruit to cool down quickly enough. The following year, we had a very, very light crop, and the same again this year.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's only all-female chess team, called She Plays to Win, has been promoted to the game's top division, only to be told they must recruit a male player to compete. Now, league rules require every First Division team to include at least one male and one female player, meaning that one of the team's female players could lose her place. I'm joined in the studio by the She Plays to Win chess players, Anusha and Alicia. Great to see you both this afternoon.
Thank you.
So sorry about what's going on. You've been promoted, but you might have to lose one of your teammates. What's going on here?
So essentially, we have fallen victim to this rule that She Plays to Win, our team, has been promoted to the First Division in our league, but now must have a male player as part of the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, that drought is due to long periods, record periods actually, with no rainfall and high temperatures. The areas that are affected, as you say, over half of England, half of the UK affected by that. The areas being East Anglia, Hertfordshire, the whole of London, Thames Valley, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Devon and Cornwall, the West Midlands and Wessex, covering Dorset, Somerset, Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. So a huge area impacted by that drought. There is also that amber heat health alert still in place here. That's in place until tomorrow. And temperatures today in the south could reach up to 35 degrees. So people here in Bognor Regis coming to the coast to cool down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Before I unleash Trey onto you, I'm going to read out some of your comments. Right, Sean says, I don't give a monkeys about this 5 million. I want to know how we can stop the boats and turn this country around. Lance Corporal says, the problem is that the more migrants that come, they will be placed in places people don't want. And it's so unfair for the people in those communities. It's always the taxpayer paying the burden of the bill. And the gardener says, we don't want them anywhere. They're illegal migrants. Going out of her mind. That's in capital letters.
This is my point.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
not listening.
No. John says, this might make people stop voting Lib Dem.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think that's going to.
Oh, well, I'll ask you when 6 of them move in next door.
Oh, I think
and
so.
Peter says, Darren, I did lose it on a plane to New York once. And I thought, oh, right, interesting. He says he lost his virginity.
Mile high.
I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting.
How's his career as a pilot going?
I hope it wasn't the
I
pilot.
want to think about that.
Yeah,
I hope he was flying the plane.
Anyway, Trey, you're going to be much more sensible.
Exactly. How is it possible? I just don't get it.
But yeah,
We have so many questions.
Well, behind the curtains or something.
When you don't know what you're doing, especially, it must be a very
I've
awkward
always thought that. When people have
fumble.
talked about the Mile High Club, I've just thought of the size of those toilets.
Yeah, OCD would kick
And
in right.
toilets.
I like my
as well.
but
Anyway, from toilet jokes to something a little bit more serious here. So, there is an old saying. When you put a clown in a palace, he doesn't become the king. The palace becomes a circus. Now, before the MAGA crowd come for me, I am not calling Trump a clown at all. But you have to admit, it's all beginning to look a bit like a circus. There's a war with Iran, and Americans are feeling the pain at the petrol pump. And of course, we all know the story of America's aircraft carrier, where allegedly some of the sailors actually want to jump overboard. Meanwhile, amidst all of this, the president is talking about annexing the Straits of Hormuz. It's absolutely crazy because it's one of the most important waterways on planet Earth. At some point, surely, the MAGA crowd must be looking and thinking, what on earth is going on? And perhaps this is the most important takeaway from all of this. Because we have a certain man over here who is fresh off his victory, who actually holds the president in very high regard. And I do wonder whether this is a bit of a warning to a future reform government. Because if we take all that is happening over in the States and bring it over here, we might just find that we are in the middle of this circus.
Oh, right. Well, I'm glad that you've stopped calling it the Strait of Hummus.
Yeah, it makes me a bit peckish when I say that. It's always a weird...
I'm not really sure what your point is, because...
Are you ever?
Look, no. But, you know, there's every week, I hope. We know that the Straits of Hormuz is the most important waterway in the world. So surely what we don't want is for it to be in the control of the hands of Iran. I mean, that's a nonsense.
But it's almost been that way for nearly 50 years.
But they've done nothing with it. But now
they've always threatened it, though.
Yeah.
We always knew this was like the sword of Damocles.
Now they've discovered that they have power here. Something has to change. We cannot allow them to have that power. So he's got to do something and say something. So I'm not sure that his MAGA base are going to be absolutely head in hands at this, they'll be thinking, oh, at last, let's do something. So we sort this out. We can get our oil prices down. Our stock market can actually be stable. And the petrol at the pump, which you're right, is the most important thing to them.
It is the thing. It's the thing that actually breaks a lot of speculation.
To me, you know, it's not just the petrol in the pump. It's what's happening in food prices. Everything is rising because of this. My problem with Donald Trump is he says lots of things constantly, and then he doesn't really do anything. So on this situation, if he's saying this, he's got to do it. What he can't do next week is come back and say, you know, I had a conversation with them and they're great guys, and I'm not going to do it anymore because we've had a good conversation. And then in 4 weeks again, he says he's going to do it.
Well, you know what, though? I was reading, and for some...
I want him to do this.
For some unknown reason, I picked up a copy of The Economist, and anyway, I was reading it. And what they've done in Venezuela, as far as their intervention in Venezuela, they are actually getting democracy in Venezuela.
Exactly.
They're going to elections. Right. Anyway, what were you going to say?
He was agreeing with you. I think he was agreeing.
I think there's a few points here that we need to cover. I think USS Abraham Lincoln was mentioned there. But I think we need to know that aircraft carriers carry out dangerous things for a long period of time, and they do it extremely well. The US Navy is extremely professional. So I think we need to be very careful about the stories we're reading. They've done an incredible job, operated under incredible pressure.
But 250 days.
No, aircraft carriers. Look, it's a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. It is meant to do jobs like that, and it's doing it very well. They've also carried out the most strikes, probably in history, prolonged. And it's a small city. To have a small amount of problems like that on essentially a small city at sea doing what it's doing is pretty phenomenal.
How are Iran still managing to plague that waterway?
I'll tell you exactly why. Because they've been ready to do it for 50 years. They've had fast boats there. They've driven at me before when I was in the Royal Navy out there. They've been prepared to do this for a long time. They want to hold the West's economy hostage.
Yeah.
That has always been what they were going to do. And Trey, I disagree with you that it's a circus. I think it's probably the most courageous and cogent piece of foreign policy that America has
war
actually
of choice, where they didn't actually ask their
but there wasn't a year of choice. No,
it wasn't a war of choice.
Because they knew that their allies Marco Rubio said something very interesting. They said, we want our allies to be strong to be able to protect Western democracy. Okay, America didn't need its allies to go and do this. It would have preferred it, but it knew that at the moment they didn't necessarily have the political will to go in there and deal with a problem that has hung over governments of various stages in the West for so long, and Iran has proved it would do what it said it would do, which was hold it to account. And American taxpayers now are feeling it at the pumps. And of course, the MAGA crowd are all about domestic policy, making sure things are affordable, and that's affected it in the short term. But by doing this in the long term, they're going to have much better success.
Well, I agree with that.
That's assuming it actually bears fruit, and it may not. They only have to wait to probably the midterm, and the political will's probably.
But the world is more
than
than
2 years. He probably.
But this is the issue: is the world's foreign policy and all these things don't work on electoral timetables.
No.
You know, we need to have a much longer view of these things, and that's what we failed to do, and that's why he's got to.
So you mean the way he's gone about
democracy? I mean, to be honest with you, there is.
We could have left things.
I think Marco Rubio has been genuinely impressive, actually, and I would say that I dare say the conversations that Trump's having around the midterms, Andy Burnham is having within number 10 Downing Street right now. Or is he back yet from his holiday? I don't know.
He's on a tour.
He's doing a tour.
He's on his tour. Yes, he's on his tour of the north. I look forward to him coming to Durham. He's been down to a farm, right? A crazy farm.
He's been up to the East Midlands.
Oh, has he? Did you say hello?
I didn't know it was an Ilkeston.
I think
you would say something else.
He's popping in on the way back.
He's popping in for a cup of tea, slice of cake with warm.
I would welcome him. I would like a conversation with him.
There you go, Andy.
Well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when that happens. Right, we've got loads more covered up on the show tonight, including the argument in favour of opening brothels for migrants and the Arabic bookshop that's selling Mein Kampf. First of all, though, it's your much more sensible weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to our GB News weather update from the Met Office. We can expect a cooler night tonight, particularly if you compare it to the warm nights we've had over the last few days. It is set to be a bit cloudier tomorrow with some rain and drizzle, all thanks to this weather system slowly approaching towards the northwest. But many areas will stay dry for a time, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure. Plenty of clear skies, in fact, across England and Wales to finish off the day, but perhaps the odd sharp shower to finish off the day across parts of the southeast. These should clear fairly quickly, but then plenty of cloud moving through during the early hours of the morning. Some rain and drizzle towards the northwest and the far north of Scotland. But for all, it should be a cooler night, still fairly warm across the very far south of England, however. So to start the day on Sunday, lots of cloud around in Scotland, some spells of rain, drizzle, mostly across the far north and the far west. And it's going to be quite a grey start for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, plenty of cloud around, some of this cloud quite low. And it's a fairly similar picture elsewhere across England and Wales. Many areas are likely to be dry, but this cloud will be quite thick at times and enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle. But where we'll see the most of the rain will be across Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, where it'll be quite patchy in nature, perhaps a little bit heavy over the hills. For many areas, particularly central and southern England and Wales, it'll start to brighten up into the afternoon, perhaps some sunny spells, but for all it is set to be a cloudier picture. And temperatures will come down more towards average for many areas, but still fairly warm across parts of the south. Now heading into Monday, it's going to be another cloudy start. There will be some spells of rain and drizzle, but once again, most of the rain will be towards the northwest, where it could turn quite heavy, especially later into the afternoon. Still fairly warm in the south and any sunshine, but temperatures will gradually start to come down through the course of the week, with some spells of rain in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. Who Needs Ant and Dec? I'm Darren Grimes, along with Lisa McKenzie, Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe and Stuart Fawcett. Tonight on the show...
Should we debate whether Labour should scrap the early release scheme in the Saturday scrap?
Or should we talk about the BBC spending licence fee payers' money on going to war with Donald Trump?
And we'll get an expert's view on whether the government's wildfire alert was a good decision.
And we'll be crossing over to the Oxfordshire village that's fighting the migrant plans.
And coming up soon, some more trigger tantrums, including a good old-fashioned flat earther.
Well, it's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5. Thank you very much for getting in touch this evening. You've been doing it in thick and fast numbers. I won't read out Peter's follow-up to his plane escapades. You can keep those to yourself, Peter. No, you did make me laugh. You did make me laugh. Now, OK, right, please do continue getting them in. gbnews.com/Yossi. But before we start tearing each other apart, here's your Saturday night news with Katie Bowen.
Darren, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 7:01. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox Britain. That's as he's announced fresh measures to support farmers whom he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. His warning comes after millions received a government-issued emergency alert across England and Wales last night, warning the public against lighting anything that could spark a wildfire, including barbecues, campfires and fireworks. Firefighters are continuing to tackle blazes in the West Midlands. 19 homes have been destroyed and 18 others damaged in Stourbridge. Elsewhere, military and fire services from across England have been called to South Wales to support the response there. This morning, the Prince of Wales paid tribute to the firefighters, emergency responders and volunteers battling wildfires across the country. Prince William said, "Our thoughts are with everyone affected, particularly those who have lost their homes, and with those working tirelessly to protect communities, homes and the countryside." Well, Britain's farmers are getting a £65 million lifeline as drought and extreme heat take their toll on crops and livestock. The Prime Minister spoke about the support package on a visit to a farm in Cornwall.
More flexibility for farmers to graze livestock on land that is being put under environmental measures, more money to build reservoirs on farms going forward to deal with these water shortage issues. So a sign that we understand how difficult times are, that we want to build back that trust with the farming community, but more to come.
Elsewhere, Andy Burnham has said that the death of former Cambridge professor Jason Arday was a tragedy. Professor Arday, who resigned from the university following allegations of plagiarism, was pronounced dead after emergency services were called to an address in Battersea in South London yesterday afternoon. Police say the 41-year-old's death is being treated as unexpected but is not believed to be suspicious. In a statement issued through his publisher, Mr Arday's family said that they were in shock to have lost an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice said she was desperately saddened, adding that the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Mr Arday's family at this incredibly difficult time. Moroccan police have blocked a second attempt by migrants to cross the border into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Riot police were deployed at the border today as hundreds prepared to storm the territory 2 weeks after tens of thousands made the crossing. Migrants gathered in the border town of Castillos after calls were made on social media encouraging a second attempt. A second earthquake has struck Indonesia today as authorities report a 6.9 magnitude quake hitting the island of Sumatra. Earlier, at least 47 people were killed following a 7.7 magnitude quake and dozens of aftershocks that struck on the eastern coast. Rescuers around the port town of Mormir found 20 people dead, 6 injured and 2 trapped in the rubble. And hundreds of Bonnie Tyler fans have gathered to pay their respects to the late singer as her coffin was brought home. The total eclipse of the heart singer, whose real name was Gaynor Hopkins, died in July, aged 75. Fans lined Newton Road in the Mumbles in Swansea to watch the procession. A celebration of her life for family and friends will take place at Swansea Minster on Monday. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes and I can promise that you're in for another very lively hour, including Scott has just commented saying, what on earth is 65 million going to get all of our farms?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
In England there are 100,000 alone, right? 65 million divided between all of them. Right? Grumpy Grandad says Burnham is on his listening tour, listening to selected audience. No normal person will ever see him. Well, that rules you out, Lisa.
Yeah, or am I, am I too normal for him or not normal enough?
No. You are many things, pet, but not normal.
I'm still put it out there if he wants to talk to me.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, well...
It's not that sort of show.
Oh, I think it is.
I'll put it out there. If he wants to talk to me, I'm willing.
Oh, goodness gracious me, what a confession. Anyway, right, who's up next?
I'm going to go and I'm going to bring back some normality to this show, get rid of the sexual innuendo. OK, brilliant. Edwina Currie, you know, the one who once made eggs more terrifying than salmonella itself, has solved the migrant crisis this week. Dump 1,200 young men into a sleepy Oxfordshire village where they'll outnumber the local women and girls about 4 to 1. No problem. Just open a funded brothel. Because nothing says welcome to Britain like taxpayer-funded horizontal hospitality for new arrivals. Seriously, let's look at Denmark, where they actually give us the figures. The UK won't. Non-Western migrants make up about 10% of the population, but rack up roughly a third of the rape convictions. Funny how biology and culture don't magically vanish at the border, isn't it? But sure, let's skip the awkward issues about stopping the steady flow of migrants and just staff a village knock-in shop instead. Ethics? Who cares? Your taxes already pay for the hotels, the phones, the lawyers. Why not throw in a happy ending? And the best bit, half of the blokes on social media are suddenly nodding along like it's the most sensible policy since the Romans invented aqueducts. Finally, somebody gets it there shouting and cheering as if state-sponsored sex is the missing piece of British integration. Policy genius. Next week, free shisha and vapes. You're welcome, Piddington.
I mean, yes. We started with Lisa offering it to Mr. Burnham, and now we've ended with this.
I've kind of made a joke of what Edwina Currie said, and obviously Edwina Currie did say it tongue-in-cheek, but the point that she was trying to make is when you put 1,200 young men into a village where there are 400 people and they're going to outnumber the women and girls by 4 to 1, they come from cultures where women are not viewed in the same way that men here view women. You are asking for trouble, and in other countries where they give us the demographics, that is what is happening.
Well, the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating, and we have seen case after case of these men coming here and not saying actually I'm going to integrate, but instead saying I'm going to have my wicked way in the most grotesque and heinous way imaginable.
I mean, what really worried me it's not worrying me, but I just thought it's quite a nasty idea that, which women should be servicing these men. Which women, we know which women it would be. We're getting into the grooming gang territory again, aren't we?
Dismissed as white snags.
Yeah, where some girls are just worth nothing, and so therefore, if they want to sell sex to people, then good on them. And remember, that's how the grooming gangs the girls were looked at originally as child prostitutes. So there is something quite nasty about this as well.
Yeah, I think it's really concerning what you're saying there about, really annoys me when I see when people use the term child pornography, because children cannot consent. It's images of child sexual abuse. It's really harrowing. But just coming back to Piddington there, I think it's important to note that Piddington is a former MOD base. Yep. It was there to hold, not all soldiers are men, but generally speaking, a higher proportion are male. Now, as I understand it, this site is going to be much more self-contained, so it has healthcare facilities there. It's not, they don't need to use local services, and as I said earlier,
they're free to come and
go. They're free to come and go.
Not necessarily. So I had a little look at this. There is a sign-in and sign-out system. There's a company there that runs security, and there are curfews as well that they have to comply with. So liberties are introduced, based on a behavioural basis, as I believe. So it's not necessarily like with the hotels where there are smack bang in the community, no support, essentially just free to do whatever.
I'm sorry, Stuart, you're wrong. It's not true. Everything you've just said is not true. They aren't allowed under the Migrant Convention to do that.
But they do have to sign in and out.
Big deal.
Yeah.
They sign out, go and rape someone, and then they sign out.
Hold on. But there is a record of who's going in and out. There is a curfew there because, I've seen that. I've done this research there. Now, that research could be wrong, but I don't believe it's fair to say this is just a free come and go system. This is a monitored
They have no powers to detain anyone or
Well, if they break the law, they have the powers to detain them. So that is worth noting.
What law are they going to break? I'm leaving.
Well, you just mentioned things there that, they're still under the same... They have to follow the rule of law as much as you or I do. So that does happen. But there was something else you mentioned as well there.
I'm really worried that about, recently we've had new grooming gangs. So these the grooming gangs that we are seeing now, they're not historical. They're actually grooming gangs that are appearing now. And there was one which was an Afghan grooming gang, and they were recent arrivals. We do not need to be going down that route again. Women and girls, working class women and girls, have been fighting to get this even on anybody's agenda for 20 odd years. Let's not go back down this road.
You mentioned a good point there.
Pauline Hanson hit the, in Australia, Pauline Hanson of the not the National Party, One Nation, I should say. She proposed doing Trump-style visa bans, right, from people from certain countries. Now,
that is happening at the minute. There are countries on the red list because of that. So Congo and one of them. So it is happening. They're going on a red list.
Okay, so what about Sudan? What about...
I think Sudan, South Sudan, maybe.
But then what are you going to do when these people just turn up if they're, they've come over?
Well, what I would do, because I have some form of a backbone, is say these people can't stay here and send them off.
But legally, though, where to? Who's going to accept them?
Do you know what? This week we've had lots of coverage about Afghan women in Afghanistan, actually, because it's, how many years is it?
5 years.
It's 5 years. And we've had lots of coverage about what is happening to girls and women in Afghanistan. And the BBC are bleeding hearts about that, quite rightly.
But not as much as you'd think.
Yeah, but at the same time, those men are coming here.
Yeah.
I know.
And
this is the point.
Those men are coming here. So what they do in Afghanistan, they want to do here.
But I think it's fair to note that that's the Afghanistan government, the Taliban, an extremist regime, are forcing these...
Hang on.
I'm not accepting
Are you arguing then that people from Afghanistan get to Heathrow or get to the border and then all of a sudden they go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to adopt every single...
I think what he's saying is that the government can and do...
Yeah, so the government did. But what I do know is there were plenty of Afghanistan men who supported the British and the American military to fight Al-Qaeda and the Taliban because they agreed with our morals and values. So Afghanistan is not devoid of people who respect our culture.
Okay.
It is largely a very different culture to us.
And you know what? It's like rape, isn't it? Most rape is carried out against women by men. Not all men are rapists. In fact, most of them aren't. Not all of these migrants will be racist, but some of them will be.
Indeed.
We have enough wrong-uns of our own.
Yeah.
We do not need to import
I
more.
totally agree with you, but I think it needed putting on the record that not all people from Afghanistan are necessarily...
And I think that's why the BBC doesn't highlight it, because too many forces on the right just whip up the fear
But for
around.
me, this is not...
Hang on, Lisa, I want you to come back on that.
No, but it is.
You just made a really stupid argument.
No, it isn't. No, but it's true.
BBC are trying to balance the coverage.
Look, This for me is not a left or right issue. This is about women and girls' safety. There's no left or right here for me. You know, people can say I'm right wing, they can say I'm left wing. I don't care, because what I care about is women and girls' safety. And it appears to me in this country right now that is not paramount, or even it's not even on the agenda.
I don't know. The violence against women and girls agenda for the government is a central pillar of what they're trying to achieve.
Well, that's what they say. They say that. That's what they say.
But there are
that's
a lot
not what's
more things.
happening.
There are a lot more measures going in with neighbourhood policing to do that. I think it's just because it's a lot more piecemeal. It's not necessarily.
Do you know what you say this? I'm sorry. You say this. We're watching every week that NHS trusts are still allowing men who wear a dress to be on female wards where rapes happen, 3,500 every year in the NHS. They're still allowing men who say they are women to go into my daughter's changing room, who's 8, because they look after that man more than anything else. They issue their guidance and then they don't enforce it in any of their Labour councils who say they're going to go to court over it.
Yeah.
Women, they say they want to look after women and then their actions say something else.
Well, I'd just like to come back on that one, because I don't remember another government in my lifetime that said our intention is to reduce violence against women and girls by up to 50%. No, but words matter. If you're in government, you know, what you're saying is what you are doing. If you're in opposition, it's not necessarily the same thing.
No, what you're saying is not what you're
doing.
Well, hold
on. What other government in my lifetime, I cannot remember, came out and said, we are going to attempt to reduce violence against women and girls by 50%. I have to have some faith in that they wish to achieve some of that. Now, the second thing, the Supreme Court has made its ruling and the guidance is going to be implemented as per that ruling. Now, if individual organisations want to agree with that, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have that granted, but places do these things.
The NHS employs over 1 million people.
Of course, but they're a government department, so they will have to follow that
guidance. They're not. No. And they're saying they're not.
No.
I don't know. I think they're a government department. They're going to have to follow that guidance.
Public transport. It's dangerous being a woman on public transport now. We have to worry about public transport because the increase in sexual assaults on public transport. This is weekly, daily. We know about this weekly and daily.
Well, let's bring Trey in, because Trey, on Nisha's point, you know what, I read an article that people in Stanley are taking hairspray onto buses because they're worried that they're going to be assaulted whilst on women, in their handbags. So what do you say to that?
I think it's true. But the problem for me is men, you know, and a lot of these attackers are known to the victims. The problem is generally men. I think sometimes it's always sort of made into a bigger thing that migrants, represent a bigger, greater some sort of harm to women, where it's just men, and education should be against men.
But why do we need to bring them in then when we already have a problem with men?
But do you think the way that we talk about it, represents the level of threat compared to just men in general?
Well, the figures,
when we look at the numbers,
figures in the countries that will actually let us have the data, which is Austria, Germany, Denmark, say yes, that it's 3 times what they represent in the
and I've seen those figures. There's a lot of nuance to that, but I think the real issue, like when you talk about it, I get your real passion. I worry about my wife's safety all the time. I think it's an issue of just men, generally.
But then when you look at the likes of Denmark, who've put together stats on foreign offenders, and certain nationalities are completely off.
They started an issue with it before those people ever
set foot in their countries. So why do they need to add to it?
They're disproportionately represented, Trey. For you just sitting here saying it's men, it's a meaningless statement. We know it's men.
OK, right. Edwina Curry, my friends, has responded to the criticism by saying this. She said she was making a slightly facetiously a serious point, I should say, and that she wasn't using brothels as a practical idea, but as a stark example of the pressure that creating new camps will bring on the local people. She added, "Wherever you put 1,200 young men from all over the world, there are going to be problems. The charities that think that all you need to do is provide SIM cards for their phones and a sports pitch are really being naive. This will cause problems whether it goes into a city, into a town, into a rural area." Well, OK. More trigger tantrums are on the way in this hour, but next of all, Stuart is going to be telling us about an Arabic bookshop in London that's selling copies of Mein Kampf that were displayed. Why were they displayed? We'll find out after this break.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. I have just had to drag Lisa off of Trey. She was knocking 7 bells out.
No, she was being very, very educational. She's brilliant.
Yes, well, one of our viewers has gotten in touch, Aaron, and Aaron says Trey will say that because his wife is from the Middle East, right? But all said and done, some British males do rape women, but why allow thousands of illegal male migrants to make the problem hundreds of times worse?
I agree.
These men should not be coming to our shores.
And
what
actually,
do you say to that?
No, I genuinely do agree, but my thing is this. Right now, what do you do about it? What, you starting to shoot people out, in the sea before they get... You're going to have to... Yeah, but how? And that's what we still don't...
Them.
Where to?
Well, Rwanda was there.
Yeah.
It
very expensive plan.
So
that was shelled.
I'd rather... What price do you put on the safety of women and girls?
Listen, if I could, I would stop it overnight. Like most, I'm just thinking, what are the sensible solutions?
Well,
I'm not saying open borders, let everyone in.
Not to vote for the Liberal Democrats. That would be a
I think reform is going to have the same issues. We know
I've
that.
just remembered, and Pauline Smith, thank you, Pauline, has reminded me that the Labour government is currently using taxpayer money to go to court to stop an FOI that will show us what offences are being carried out by what nationality. Why would they do that, Trey?
Well, I guess it's probably, this sort of freedom of information. People are probably going to use it to look for exactly what they want.
Yes, that's what the request is.
I knew that you were going to say that. Why are you so certain that the data will tell us that?
No, I don't know if it will, but I know that people will use it in that way. And the thing is, it actually endangers all of the migrants that are already here, caused no harm and contributed. I think that's maybe the slight difference that you guys are not seeing. For someone watching, they have no difference between a migrant that's just come over and someone like me, unless they spoke. So it's slightly different. The impact of this climate that's being created impacts me differently than it would you guys.
Well, my ex-husband was Jamaican and my son is mixed race. So it's not that I don't have any skin in the game with this. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that where we are right now, women and girls are feeling very vulnerable all the time on public transport everywhere. And I think that needs to be a consideration.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be number one. But what I'm saying, there are other populations that are being dragged into this.
We'll come back to this topic when we get on to Piddington in a bit. But next of all, though, we're going to go to Stuart and find out what it is that you've got for us.
Well, as you've heard, I've been on my holidays this week when I haven't been having nightmares with plane journeys. But I've actually been in Israel. It's been plenty sunny enough over there, and I know you've been having some heat here. But someone told me about alarms going off, and we didn't get any alarms over there because when they're going off, it's not to tell us not to have a barbecue. It's going off because people are sending bombs there, and you have to take shelter. And why is that? Well, there's this thing called anti-Zionism, which some people and places around the Middle East fester within their governments because they believe that Jews, unlike you and I, don't have the right to self-determination. And that's all that it is, really. So you can imagine my surprise this week when I touched back down in England and I saw the news that there was a bookshop in North London selling copies of Mein Kampf in Arabic. And it made me think to myself, What is the need for that? What's the need to sell this? It was a book written by Adolf Hitler, total drivel, totally, solely about anti-Semitism and about destroying the Jewish race. And we know how it ended. 6 million Jews dead in the Holocaust. So why do we still need this text to be consumed and available casually, translated into Arabic, in our nation? Now, reading Mein Kampf or other extremist texts, probably even things like Karl Marx, doesn't make you a fascist or a Marxist. It can just make you more well-read. But why is it being offered, available for casual consumption in Arabic in the UK? And why was it self-published? And that's what I'm trying to find out tonight. What do the panel think? Should it be available for casual consumption? Would you buy it? Or should we have it in more controlled areas like university libraries where we can track and monitor the effect it may have and who wants to read it?
You know, I side totally on the free speech argument that you should be able to obtain a copy and read it, right? I absolutely do. But I do think it's interesting that it's... What point are you trying to make by the self-publication element? As in, there is market demand for it in Arabic? Is that the point you make?
This is the thing. Is there? Would you print something if there wasn't market demand? It's a business, you know. You need to make money from it.
Why is it?
Exactly. Why is there market demand? And what sort of person wants to go out and buy that?
Well,
and read
I'm asking you that question.
Yeah, and that is because, broadly speaking, I imagine if I asked anybody here, you would know what Mein Kampf is.
Yes.
Right? I have read parts of Mein Kampf. It's total drivel, okay? And the end point and what the process that went through to where we got to the Holocaust was essentially the basis of Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
I don't want to consume that. So why do other people want to consume it? If you want to study it, that's different.
If you go to Israel, and you go, controversial to describe it as Israel, but the West Bank, you will find that there are shops that actually, you know, have Nazi insignia and celebrate the fact.
So I'm going to come at this. I don't care what people read, and I don't think we should ever reach the stage where we are banning books. I really don't. I think the moment we get to the stage where banning books and burning books, we're actually going to a very dark place, and there are other things that history has shown us. Let's look at Mao China, for example, where they killed all the academics and burnt all the books. Goes to another dark place. It doesn't matter, because I would rather see who's reading that book.
But you can't do that.
No.
If it's just, offered casually for sale in the shop.
But you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, and that's a problem there as well, in the same vein.
I just think we're in a free society. People should be able to read whatever they want.
But we know where that book took people.
Yes, we do know where it took people, and we must learn from that. But a few people buying Mein Kampf here and there is not going to take us back there.
Yeah.
What might take us back there are the people rampaging through our streets every weekend with Palestinian flags.
Your basis there is it's a few people.
Well, hang on, because I agree with what Renee has just said, which is this. You argue as a supporter of the Labour Party that you're quite worried about
I'm no longer in the Labour Party, but
okay, so maybe you do have some semblance of sanity. But anyway, I get back to the point, which is the fact of the matter is that, as Renee says, there are people coming here that now want to go out and protest, be they second-generation migrants or whatever else. They want to come out here and they want to protest and they want to celebrate, some of them, October 7th, or indeed decry or denounce the assassination or murder of the Ayatollah Khomeini. And that is a problem, but that is something that's happened in the post-Blair consensus that we've had since then, that people from parts of the world that weren't parts of migration channels that we used to have come here, have now come here as refugees or whatever else, and it has changed the dare I say, appetite for certain
anti-Semitic literature. Anti-Semitic literature.
I think I look at it a bit different. I think, I've sat on this panel and people are talking about people having the freedom to burn the Quran, for instance, which I completely disagree with. Same way I think burning the Torah should be outlawed and burning the Bible should be outlawed. But we are where we are. It's freedom of speech. I think a bookshop that might sell maybe one Mein Kampf book every 10 years, you don't know.
Where does the money go?
But you just don't know. And I think,
where does the money
if this country is allowed to sell something like, I don't know, Salman Rushdie's satanic verses, for instance, which lots lots of Muslims find absolutely abhorrent, then they're going to sell that book. Do I agree with it? No. Do I think it should be sold? Absolutely no. But it is a freedom of speech thing. In the same way there are people who want to protest about what they might feel is a genocide, they should be well within their rights. But kind of conflating all of these things into one kind of doesn't make sense.
But
what you've got is
just because you argue it doesn't make
you've got a bookshop that's selling a book that you can get on Amazon, and some people may even not like it, but it's a freedom of speech thing.
So this has always happened. So there's another book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Yep.
That's another book that is very questionable. I've read it. Again, there was another book called The Green Book, which was written by Colonel Gaddafi. And the National Front, the far-right white supremacist group, the National Front, actually ordered hundreds and hundreds of those books from Gaddafi himself.
Because it was anti-Semitic?
Well, it was a very strange thing, really. The National Front really liked Gaddafi. They even went over and seen it. They went to see him. They bought his book.
Well, didn't the IRA also?
Yeah.
Well, he supplied the IRA a lot of weapons.
So this is not a new thing, really. What we should have is a solid democracy that can argue against that. Yes. That's what we should
But do we think people really have the tools to do that?
We'll come back
I don't think they do.
Right, the AFAC, am I pronouncing that right, Stuart? AFAC?
AFAC, I believe, yeah.
AFAC. Well, I do apologise if I've butchered your name, but the AFAC bookstore told GB News this. Our CCTV footage clearly shows that the visitor took 3 copies which had been stacked on top of one another and rearranged them side by side immediately before taking the photograph that was subsequently published. The resulting photograph therefore does not reflect how the books were actually displayed in our store. Following the concerns raised, the copies were removed from sale out of respect for our visitors. AFAC Bookstore unequivocally rejects Nazi ideology, anti-Semitism, racism and all forms of hatred. The presence of a controversial historical book within the bookshop's collection should not be interpreted as an endorsement of its contents or ideas.
So why did they publish them?
Right, next up we've got this. I hate that noise. I'll be asking, should the government have sent that horrible, horrible sound to tens of millions of mobile phones yesterday? This is Saturday 5 only on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
It's not just the UK where the heatwave comes to an end this weekend. Sunday's going to be much cooler across a large swathe of Europe compared with the week that has just been. And I'm talking about much of France, into Germany, Italy as well. It's been so hot recently. Cooler air will be welcome news for many. There'll be thunderstorms, very lively thunderstorms through Central Europe, especially the Alps. They'll then move into Croatia and Greece throughout much of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to our GB News weather update from the Met Office. We can expect a cooler night tonight, particularly if you compare it to the warm nights we've had over the last few days. It is set to be a bit cloudier tomorrow with some rain and drizzle, all thanks to this weather system slowly approaching towards the northwest. But many areas will stay dry for a time, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure. Plenty of clear skies, in fact, across England and Wales to finish off the day, but perhaps the odd sharp shower to finish off the day across parts of the southeast. These should clear fairly quickly, but then plenty of cloud moving through during the early hours of the morning, some rain and drizzle towards the northwest and the far north of Scotland. But for all, it should be a cooler night, still fairly warm across the very far south of England, however. So to start the day on Sunday, lots of cloud around in Scotland, some spells of rain, drizzle, mostly across the far north and the far west. And it's going to be quite a grey start for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, plenty of cloud around, some of this cloud quite low. And it's a fairly similar picture elsewhere across England and Wales. Many areas are likely to be dry, but this cloud will be quite thick at times and enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle. But where we'll see the most of the rain will be across Scotland, parts parts of Northern Ireland, where it'll be quite patchy in nature, perhaps a little bit heavy over the hills. For many areas, particularly central and southern England and Wales, it'll start to brighten up into the afternoon, perhaps some sunny spells, but for all it is set to be a cloudier picture. And temperatures will come down more towards average for many areas, but still fairly warm across parts of the south. Now heading into Monday, it's going to be another cloudy start. There will be some spells of rain and drizzle, but once again, most of the rain will be towards the northwest, where it could turn quite heavy, especially later into the afternoon. Still fairly warm in the south and any sunshine, but temperatures will gradually start to come down through the course of the week, with some spells of rain in places.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Thank you so much for getting in touch. Peter has written in about something different. Don't worry. If you were listening in the last hour, you'll know what I'm talking about. Naughty Peter says, Darren, we are perfectly able to make our own laws regarding illegal migrants. We should change them and come out of these national conventions. Yeah, I agree. I think actually in order to complete the Brexit project, that's exactly what you have to do. Right, and Jack says, the severe alert just before the country's wee heads hit the pubs on a Friday night. Timing is everything. Well, I don't know about that, because even if I had been out in the pub, right, having a wild one, it wouldn't dawn on me to go out and light fires.
Not that you ever do go to the pub and have wild ones.
No, well, no, of course not. I'm an angel.
Definitely not in Durham.
He'd be out with Kai.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, well.
On the way.
I don't think I go to those sorts of places. Anyway. Right, thank you so much to all of your messages. Please do keep them coming in. We'll get to some more of them in a second. And right, my friends, tens of millions of us, of course, got a surprise yesterday evening. Yeah, the government sent out an alert warning about wildfires that landed in most of our mobile phones, unless you're Dr. Renee, who had the common sense to turn it off, which I hadn't.
I got burnt by COVID. After COVID, they were never going to invade my phone again.
Well, then they haven't. They didn't. And Andy Burnham said that people should take the warning seriously and that it was triggered at the request of firefighters. 19 homes in Stourbridge in the West Midlands were destroyed by fire. The scene's utterly heartbreaking, it has to be said. But the decision to send the alert to phones has been criticised. Where do you side on this? Well, I'm joined by Khalid Hassan, who is a national security expert, and Khalid joins me now to discuss. Khalid, where do you side on this argument? You know, I actually thought, I was a little bit sort of, this is nanny state gone mad, actually, because it wouldn't dawn on me during the 5th heat wave of the year to go out either with a pack of matches or indeed a disposable barbecue on a really dry, arid piece of land.
Yes, thanks for having me. I think it was actually quite foolish because, professionally speaking, I used to work for a company that basically sent, emergency alerts globally to everyone, So if you were, staying somewhere like in South Africa and there was something serious happening, our job was to let you know. And you don't send emergency alerts unless, number one, there is something that needs to be done. So whoever receives the alert has to, basically carry out some sort of immediate action. And number two is, you don't basically send something that would trigger most people to decide, I'm going to sign out of this service, basically. And that's precisely what they did, which is really quite laughable because, as a nation, we need to use this service in case something serious happens. So using it nationwide on that scale is just very counterproductive.
That's a really good point, actually. So you're not against the idea of having this alert. You know, as a security expert, I imagine you think that there's perfectly plausible and laudable merit in it, but that actually when you send it off for things like this, in which a dose of common sense would get you to reach that conclusion anyway, that actually what you're doing is alienating people and causing them all to be like Dr. Renee and to opt out.
Precisely, yes. And I mean, it's you have to be able to say to someone, look, this is an emergency alert. It needs to be taken seriously and you need to do something immediately. But, you know, getting this alert and just deciding, you know what, this was just pointless, I'm going to switch it off, is really serious, because we live in uncertain times. This is unprecedented. We can, there is war in Ukraine. There is a lot of stuff happening in the Middle East. You never know when this service might be life-saving. And if a lot of people turn it off because you just misused it, then that basically means, at some point when it's really serious and it could save lives, a lot of people will not receive it.
Yes, and I mean, I have to say there was a slight, I was going to use a technical term there, a mistake, shall we say. I was going to use a different word.
Oh, yeah. The really technical one.
Yes, in which actually it went out for people in Wales in Welsh, which, of course, a lot of people in Wales don't actually speak Welsh, so they're getting this, what is to them, completely alien language that they can't read. So the whole, is that an element of virtue signalling? I don't know, where they're saying, they're Welsh, so they must speak Welsh.
Yeah,
I thought everything in Wales had to be two languages if you wrote it, for
well, they only got the Welsh one, though.
Really?
That's what I believe.
Do you know what I'd like to see is some public service announcements, some very old-fashioned public service announcements, where they tell us what this alarm is for. Because when it went off, I was actually at a barbecue last night, and when it went off, I didn't even read it, I just turned it off.
The barbecue?
No, well, everyone who was at the barbecue, it all went off.
That was good.
So nobody read it, nobody took any notice of it, and we just all turned it off. If there was a public service announcement telling us what we should do with these things when they come, I think I might have taken it a bit more seriously. But, just coming through the phone, everybody just switched it off, no one read it.
Colin, I mean, where are you on that argument that actually we need some form of explanation of what this thing's actually there to achieve?
Well, absolutely, yes, because I think, Britain is... Look, when you look at a nation's resilience, like our ability to survive disasters, whether we're talking about man-made disasters or natural disasters, it comes down to two things. One, the citizens' awareness and being able to efficiently and quickly respond to emergencies. So, when you have citizens who are capable of understanding what's happening and how they need to respond, that's number one, and that's really important. And the second thing is having a nation that actually has the capacity and the know-how to respond forcibly to any threats. Like if it's a war, if we're being attacked. We see now that, less than 20% of people are actually willing to defend this nation if we're invaded. And if we also see that, most people now are not really interested in even getting these alerts, then our resilience as a nation means that if there is a serious man-made or natural disaster, we're just going to be helpless. Because there is no trust. And this is the second issue. A lot of people look at this and they think, we have Ed Miliband who's been going on about, the climate emergency, and we've got, Andy Burnham and the old, they say things now like we're going to ban petrol and diesel cars by 2030, which is not something that anyone voted for. So people feel like this is part of a narrative that is basically supposed to make us feel guilty about even a barbecue.
I mean, Khalid, I just wonder, we made it through 2 world wars without mobile phones, and people were mobilised, and they had warnings when there were going to be air raids. I don't want this on my phone. I don't want my phone being used in that way. It's personal. I find it invasive, so I switched it off about 4 years ago, whenever it was.
What's the difference between an air raid siren?
It's in the community. Everybody can hear it. It's not coming into my personal phone. Do you not think there's an argument here that this should be an opt-in system rather than you have to find it and opt out?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we live in a country where you don't get to opt out of most things, including, the BBC TV license. You're forced to pay money, to watch TV that you don't actually watch. So
I don't think that's a choice.
I'll come in if you.
Yeah, I mean, but there is I assume as a security expert, though, and indeed, I assume you agree with actually there is a need for such a thing.
Yeah, I think I'm in a different position here with Dr. Renee. I think that what's really important is that people know how to participate, Colin, and I think you've touched upon there is about participation and about why this is. I know in America, so for example here we seem to have gone literally with the nuclear option essentially to ban barbecues. But in America they have things like orange alerts for missing children and things like that, and I think most people would want that to have effect if there's a missing child. So, is there not another a second layer with this, where people are a bit more clear on how to participate with it?
Yeah, Khaled, brief response if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think there should be, on a local council level, there should be something like this because, not everyone is also going to be impacted by wildfires. So I completely agree with you. We did go with the nuclear option for something, again, disposable barbecues.
I don't know. I've had some bad sausages in my time is all.
Well, I think the residents of Durham can look forward to notifications from me when I'm appearing on GB News.
Oh, how scary.
I'm joking, of course. All right, Khaled, thank you so much for your time. That's Khaled Hassan, a national security expert, with his views actually saying boo to nanny.
Yeah.
Right, still to come tonight, more of this week's triggered tantrums, including a good old fashioned flat earther. I couldn't get that out of my mouth.
It's very hard to say.
This is the Saturday 5, and we're only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Morris, tell us exactly what is going to happen here this evening.
So what we have this evening as part of the wider FLAD Coming to Belfast programme is essentially 2 hours of Northern Irish Unionist Ulster Scots culture, dance, tradition and music. So we'll have got about a cast of 200, and like you said, we're covering flute bands, traditional fife and drum with lambeg drums. We've got a piper in there as well, a couple of Highland dance groups. We've just seen one rehearse there, absolutely fantastic, and some drum music from County Armagh as well. So it's 2 hours to do an absolute broad brush off the entire culture, and whenever you're trying to piece a show like that together, 2 hours just isn't enough.
Of course, you yourself spent a lot of time as a drum major outside this, didn't you? I mean, you served.
Yes, I did. I spent 23 years in the household division. I originally joined the Irish Guards, transferred to the Scots Guards.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Former NBA player Royce White says he's declaring for next year's women's NBA draft, claiming he now identifies as a female for the purpose of playing professional basketball. There he is on your screens. He's 6'8", he's massive, he's built like a brick, you know what. He's the former first-round pick in the NBA, which if you're not familiar with what the NBA is in the draft, basically when he was playing, he was all the NBA team's first choice for them to join his team. He was a quality player. He says he'd be unstoppable in the women's NBA and has vowed to use the women's changing room if allowed to compete. White, who is seeking the Republican Senate nomination in Minnesota, says he wants to expose what he sees as flaws in transgender inclusion rules in women's sport. And it all comes after former NBA star Enes Kanter, Freedom, also announced plans to declare for the 2027 women's NBA draft as well.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Fury over a royal funeral planned for shamed Andrew. Should he get a royal funeral?
Emphatically not. He is a private citizen. He lost his HRH, title of prince, and also stepped down from numerous patronages. He's being, of course, as we all know, investigated by the police. The facts of the matter are that he is in disgrace. As a private citizen, he should most emphatically not get a royal ceremonial funeral. This is a matter for the Cabinet Office of the Royal Household. I can only presume that it's something that they haven't attended to, because there would be public outrage. The last YouGov poll last month, his popularity is 2%. You can't get worse than that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at more of the triggered tantrums of the week. Trey, over to you.
So my triggered tantrum this week is this lovely gentleman who believes we all have our own sun, and apparently it's not even that hot. Could have fooled me. Let's take a look.
The Earth is flat. Where is the sun? It's 93 million miles away?
The sun at any given time, and when you say the sun, there is no the sun. Everybody has their own sun.
What do you mean?
Literally.
What do you mean literally?
Literally, everybody has their own sun. So there's a different sun for everybody.
Wow.
I love that. Everyone has their own sun.
Now that's global warming.
Yeah, that's global warming. I feel like my sun's in my front room at the moment. It's so warm. If you'd seen it to the end, he actually says the sun is actually cold. So, you know what? I thought I'd dip my toe into the whole flat Earth world, and my God, did I get educated.
The Flat Earth Society is spreading around the globe.
Yeah.
Yeah, around.
Round and flat.
Around.
Oh, you gotta love it.
So my triggered tantrum is the delicious Angela Rayner again, getting it wrong, and the BBC top journalist not even pulling her up about it.
I remember a number of years ago when we saw a toddler wash up on the shore in the UK, and how upsetting that is when I've got children myself.
Yeah, the toddler that she's talking about was a little boy who was washed up in 2016. He was Syrian, and he was washed up on the shore, sadly and terribly, in Turkey, not in Britain. So we have never, ever had a toddler wash up on our shores. She's a minister. Nick Robinson, who's interviewing her, is the top political BBC journalist, and nobody corrected her. And that, to me, is...
Having just heard that, though, Lisa, I think if you were to write that down and you had good punctuation, there might be a comma in that sentence that would probably...
No, she said in the UK there was a toddler...
No, she said, so she said...
I remember.
Let me say. The way I would interpret it, trying to have a bit of balance here, is that I remember when we saw a toddler wash up on the shore, comma, in the UK. I think that's probably a confusion with her vernacular. I don't know if she's saying...
Whoa.
She's a minister.
That makes no sense, what you've just said. I saw a toddler wash up on the shore, comma...
In the UK.
In the UK? What's the in the UK?
I think what... I can only speculate. Hold on, let me finish. I think what she thinks is people of the UK saw that awful event where that toddler washed up on the shore. It's horrible. It's not very nice.
Awful.
And I think she's recalling when people did it.
Stretch beyond.
I don't think it's too stretched when I think of Angela Rayner's vernacular.
But to say that happened in the UK.
But we know it didn't do that.
And it didn't. Well, we know it didn't. But people who are listening to that, they might not know that. They might think, oh my God, that's terrible.
But they do know now.
Well, now, which is why I think the only tantrum there is me.
Do you know, I actually was going to say we've got another tantrum.
I could have caused another one, actually.
Lisa, you're raising a fundamental point here, which is that Nick Robinson, had Nigel Farage said something that wasn't factually accurate, would absolutely pull him up on that.
Yeah. She's a minister. She can't get away with that.
I think she's just proven why she shouldn't be a minister.
Right, Trey, I mean, do you like Angie Rayner?
I don't see why everyone's got everything against her. I think the fact that she's a woman and she's working class might be an element of it. I'm not saying in terms of what you're saying, but I do think people are just not used to someone like her. Do you know?
What?
Saying
things that aren't
stupid.
No, but you know what I mean?
Inauthentic.
There's an authenticity to her.
Inauthentic, I said.
No, I think she's a working class woman and people are not used to it. It's a bit like how Talisa gets treated.
That's so patronising.
A similar thing.
Just because she's working class doesn't mean that she can't get things right.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of class prejudices in this
I think there was a lot of gaslighting in that interview.
Right, we'll leave that there, but don't go anywhere. It's a Saturday 5 Extra. After this, we're going to let our hair down. What could possibly go wrong? So get ready. We'll be back in just a roly-mo.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to our GB News weather update from the Met Office. We can expect a cooler night tonight, particularly if you compare it to the warm nights we've had over the last few days. It is set to be a bit cloudier tomorrow with some rain and drizzle, all thanks to this weather system slowly approaching towards the northwest. But many areas will stay dry for a time, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure. Plenty of clear skies, in fact, across England and Wales to finish off the day, but perhaps the odd sharp shower to finish off the day across parts of the southeast. These should clear fairly quickly, but then plenty of cloud moving through during the early hours of the morning. Some rain and drizzle towards the northwest and the far north of Scotland. But for all, it should be a cooler night. Still fairly warm across the very far south of England, however. So to start the day on Sunday, lots of cloud around in Scotland, some spells of rain, drizzle, mostly across the far north and the far west. And it's going to be quite a grey start for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, plenty of cloud around, some of this cloud quite low. And it's a fairly similar picture elsewhere across England and Wales. Many areas are likely to be dry, but this cloud will be quite thick at times and enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle. But where we'll see the most of the rain will be across Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, where it'll be quite patchy in nature, perhaps a little bit heavy over the hills. For many areas, particularly central and southern England and Wales, it'll start to brighten up into the afternoon, perhaps some sunny spells, but for all it is set to be a cloudier picture. And temperatures will come down more towards average for many areas, but still fairly warm across parts of the south. Now heading into Monday, it's going to be another cloudy start. There will be some spells of rain and drizzle, but once again, most of the rain will be towards the northwest, where it could turn quite heavy, especially later into the afternoon. Still fairly warm in the south and any sunshine, but temperatures will gradually start to come down through the course of the week, with some spells of rain in places.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash, plus you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5 Extra, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm still Darren Grimes, and I'm still alongside the wonderful